Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of those comments for the next episode of Loadout. Today's comment comes from AlexDBR11. He says, the new faction Chinese Army Loadout, QBZ-95-1, with the JMG4 laser sight and heavy barrel. As a sidearm, the QBZ-92 with iron sights, laser sight, and muzzle brake. Medpack and M320 high explosives. You choose the squad perk. China are new to the battlefield, so let's see what they bring. And it's true, China hasn't been a faction in the Battlefield franchise since Battlefield 2, and with them we get a lot of interesting Chinese weapons. And the QBZ-95-1 certainly counts as one of those. It's got a big long rail on top that acts as a handle and a place where you mount the scope. In real life, this would actually create a huge separation between the barrel and the sight. You generally want the sight and barrel to be kind of close to each other. This way you are always aware of how far away your barrel is of your sight, and making sure that you're not shooting at things like a wall in front of you. Your sight can see over the wall, but the barrel position might be right next to the wall. This is a bigger issue in real life than it is in Battlefield, because in video games what they actually do is the bullets, although they look like they're coming out of your gun, physically in the game world they're coming out of your head, because that's the only way they can allow people to shoot over objects that you're seeing over and not hit the objects in front of them. Otherwise people will get tons of shots that are just going into the wall in front of them. The downside to this philosophy is that it creates head glitching. You know that situation when you see just the top of somebody's head peeking over a crate and he somehow manages to like completely waste you even though his gun is well below the level of that crate and there's no way he could actually shoot over the crate? Well, that's because he's shooting the bullets out of the top of his head instead of actually out of the gun. What does this actually have to do with the specific loadout for today? Nothing really. I just think it's an interesting aspect of game design, and I'm curious to see if popular shooters will ever revert back to a method where bullets are coming out of the weapon and players just have to be a little bit more mindful of the barrel position versus the scope position. Alright, so moving on to the QBZ-95-1. This is a brand new gun to the Battlefield series. We did have the QBZ-95B for Battlefield 3, which is a carbine variant, and it was a smaller version of this weapon. There was no assault rifle variant in Battlefield 3. They did have the KH-2002, which visually looks like this weapon but is not the same. Jumping into the SimThick stats, we have a 650 round per minute rate of fire. Probably why you're not seeing this on the battlefield too much or getting killed by it too much, because 650 rounds per minute with a 25 damage maximum is very low damage per second, and it's really not going to win you a lot of gunfights. You're going to have to absolutely use what this gun is good for to be able to win against your opponents. Now, it's actually got pretty easy to manage recoil. In fact, some of the easiest to manage recoil, which will allow you to essentially equip higher magnification scopes, which is what this loadout here is using. A 4x magnification scope. You can't really pull this off on higher rate of fire weapons like an AEK or a FAMAS. You're basically going to lose your target completely as soon as the gun starts firing, but it is possible with this one just because of its crazy low rate of fire and crazy low recoil. One very interesting stat about this weapon is that its aiming down sight accuracy is actually 0.5 less than your average assault rifle. It's a 0.25 aiming down sight accuracy, and most assault rifles are at 0.2. This is remedied in the specific loadout by equipping the heavy barrel, which is going to bring that accuracy down to a much more manageable rate and basically make the 4x sight worthwhile. However, the heavy barrel does make the initial shot recoil higher, which kind of contradicts the philosophy here with the scope and assault rifle, so I've put an angled grip on there. The loadout actually wasn't specific about what kinds of grips to use, so I thought an angled grip would kind of complement the playstyle that we're going for. Now, the laser sight on here is going to make hip firing possible. The gun already had pretty darn good hip fire accuracy. The laser sight's going to make it better, and this is going to be great for dealing with people in close quarters. As we all know, 650 rounds per minute is not going to win you any gun battles, so if you can get that extra split second of firing before your opponent by not needing to aim down sight, then you're going to have the advantage. The reload time on this weapon is nothing to write home about. It's 3 seconds for the short reload and 3.5 seconds for the long reload. And generally speaking, when I have a weapon that has a longer reload time, I try and keep my distance from my enemies. If I'm going to engage in a firefight and potentially not kill my opponent, then I'm going to need time to reload that gun before he can jump on my position. So longer range engagements are preferable if you got that long reload, and that's what you can absolutely do with this gun with the heavy barrel and 4x scope. Now, in addition to the fact that it's got very low recoil, which facilitates the 4x scope, we also have a very good bullet velocity of 630 meters per second. Now, compared to something like the AUG that has 670 meters per second, it is not the fastest out there, but 630 is faster than most bolt-action sniper rifles. So it's going to facilitate shooting moving targets and targets at longer ranges really, really well. Basically, you don't want to use the QBZ-95-1 in close quarters unless you have to. You want to try and set yourself up in sort of high up sniper positions and deal with your enemies at longer distances. That's where this gun is going to shine, and it's going to have the advantage. Now, I'm not saying you're always going to win a gunfight up here. In fact, I lost many to people using AEKs. You can still get pretty darn good accuracy with a weapon that has a higher rate of fire. But if you use it right and you corner right, you can definitely pop off some headshots at those longer ranges that I think it's really going to surprise some people. Also, tap firing this weapon can help, especially once you've been holding down the trigger for a while and you notice that the spray is getting a little bit out of hand. You might want to try switching up to a tap fire mentality and dealing with your enemies that way. Now, because this is a Chinese theme loadout, we are using the QBZ-95 as the sidearm. Unfortunately, this is the worst pistol in the game. Now, you could argue with me that there's other pistols that are worse, but statistically and from my experience playing with it, it is just a nightmare to use. You're going to actually see me here try and get a few kills with it. It does 20 damage maximum, making it one of the lowest damage pistols in the game. It has no full auto mode for it, and it has a fairly small magazine compared to the damage that it's doing. So you get 15 shots per mag, you're doing 20 damage maximum, no full auto, you're just dishing out so little damage, and by the time you can actually get enough rounds into somebody to kill them, if they haven't turned around and killed you in that amount of time, then you're just up against somebody who really doesn't know what they're doing. It is a bad sidearm, and I cannot recommend it. Normally I have some balancing ideas for guns, if they're just not good enough, but for a gun that's going to do 20 damage maximum, I really don't know what to say. It has a higher rate of fire for semi-auto, but most people can't pull the trigger fast enough to take advantage of that. I know I certainly can't, so it's really, really hard to try and figure out a way to make this gun good. I would say try and make it do more damage per shot. I know DICE is going for some more interesting weapon damage models, but 20 damage for a semi-auto is just not going to cut it in Battlefield 4. The rest of the loadout works great. Medpack is perfect for the assault class. I can't imagine running an effective assault class without the medpack. As you can see, I throw it down at just about every corner I come across, expecting a firefight. It's also great to use it in retreat, throw it around a corner, and then dive behind the corner, heal up, peek out just as you're about to hit that full health, and you can absorb so much more damage when using a med pack properly. The M320 grenade launcher is again perfect for domination and team deathmatch game modes, punching your way through destructible environments or even getting kills from afar. Overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this loadout. I can actually recommend the QBZ-95-1 in this specific loadout. You might want to try swapping out the sight for an ACOG or a different 4x scope that you prefer. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.